And we are live. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. We've got a good crew with us already. And have everybody introduce themselves and tell us what they're up to. Doc? You're muted.
Doc Sheldon of Intrinsic Value SEO and search. No? You can't hear me?
You're good now.
Now can.
Yeah, Doc Sheldon, Intrinsic Value SEO and Search News Central. Do tech SEO. And in the middle, copy website, manage sites who shall be named.
Yeah, your Taco IS.
Wix!
Johnny, introduce yourself.
I'm Johnny Bass with SEO Richmond.
Garbling.
And just been busy creating, organizing information architecture from the website down to the page. So,
Geez, that sounds like Google, Johnny. How much you charge?
it's getting some clients I'm dealing with a corporation, and I'm trying to explain to them that maybe repurposing content might not be the best idea, and start from scratch and make the outline of the page with the titles, and then as opposed to take old content to try to repurpose it in not a structured way. So,
Richard, you want to introduce yourself?
Well, to those who do not know me, I'm Richard Ryan. I am rocking out of Glendale, Maryland. I just recently graduated from high school about a couple weeks ago, and I am enjoying life.
Good to hear, and congratulations on graduation.
Thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Terry, are you there? Ammon,
Yeah.
you want to introduce yourself? Terry.
Yep, Terry Van Horn. Let me see. I work from International Website Builders, Toronto SEO and Website Development Company. Releasing very shortly SEO Dojo Radio, which has about 200 podcasts that me and Dave have done over the years. And really, I was going through them, and the way I'm tagging and stuff, it should be pretty useful, because I think you can learn more by looking at the evolution of something rather than looking at what happened today. And back when Panda and Penguin were being released, that's when we were doing weekly shows. And so we were covering it pretty heavy. And Dave and I, most of our work was also doing forensic SEO. So those were really good. Tied up nicely so people can get all of them. And it's across multiple shows too, right? Because we have about 4 different shows that are on there. Yeah, I'm just finishing it up now. Going to do a soft launch this week, and then hopefully we'll do something more elaborate in a week to come. And have some announcements on some new shows. One I want to get back going is the new regulators. That was my favorite show. I had a lot of fun doing that one.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to have a kickoff party.
Pardon me?
We'll have to have a kickoff party.
For sure. Get all the people in. Yourself and Doc, Darren Shaw. Ammon's been on a few shows. He was co-hosting for a bit, kind of not to say anything and put him on the spot, but hopefully we can get him in for a couple more on the new regulators. I'm pretty sure I got another one of the old crew that will join us regularly. And he was the most fun anyhow for me, because if I say it's black, he just says it's gray because I said it was black. So it makes for some good conversation. And I've been programming a bit more of events and event schema. Want to get into that a lot more, especially when they're adding actions and stuff. I think it's really starting to look interesting.
They added a way of using actions to have your podcasts findable on speakers and playable.
Oh, cool.
So that was within last week. Yeah.
You'll have to give me a pointer to that one. Because that's another thing I'm going to probably try and experiment a bit with. Because these pages, we didn't spend a lot of time writing after the podcast. It was usually I took the links, put them in an editor, put it into a bulleted list, and change the bulleted list into a colon delimited list, and that's how I did it.
If you visit Aaron Bradley's SEO Skeptic website,
yes, actually,
he's got a write-up of how to add those actions for podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, he's someone I want to get in touch with as well.
There's someone who did a couple of posts that linked to it. You might know, Terry, a guy called Bill Slawski. If you go on his feed, you can see all the links to that stuff.
Well, now that I'm kind of getting into more of a promotional mode, I've actually started going through Twitter and probably add Google Plus back into my morning routine. Kind of got away from it for a while because I didn't really need news or anything. So
still hiding from
Google
Facebook.
Plus has no future. Nobody ever uses it.
They've been saying that for 5 years.
You're still avoiding Facebook.
And Facebook was supposed to be killed off by now too.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I read that going through.
Are they Walking Dead? Are they zombie networks?
Yeah.
Well, nothing's as dead as SEO. There's nothing else that dies every single day. But yeah, I mean, Facebook. It was always because there had been MySpace and things like that before it. They expected it to only have a couple of years, and then the next thing would come along and kill it, with no other basis than the last time I was into something that something better came along. That's it.
Yeah, I've got to update my GeoCities page. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of the way the internet has gone, hasn't it? These things usually don't last this long. When you look at the longevity of YouTube, Facebook, and Google Plus, that's beyond the norm.
Well, you have no expectations. They live to be teenagers, become old enough to drink.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube's been through a bit of a ringer, obviously, because originally, the name YouTube originally started because it was going to be a dating video app kind of thing. Literally, it was never for just sharing any old videos. The original plan was that it was going to be, kind of a networking thing, a social networking thing, much more.
And the original Facebook had hot or not buttons underneath pictures in the middle of the screen.
Yeah.
That's how all those things grow, though. They figure out what the users want, and that's how they grow.
Well, the ones that survive, yes. Exactly that. And that's the trick. The ones who are too certain of what they want to be and don't allow for the audience to change them tend to be the ones that go away. And then you meet one that is prepared to adapt and survive. But the biggest shock story of that kind is Google itself. How long did an average search engine last before Google?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, how long did it stay dominant? You were looking at a year, maybe two. And
I had an Orchid page.
Which when you think about the purchase of YouTube and what was said about Google when they purchased it, turns out to be probably the best purchase anyone has made in a very long time.
Here too.
you know, it is. It's. There's always this argument over, you know, oh, YouTube is the second biggest search engine. I'm not sure that's actually true. I think it might actually be slightly bigger now. You know, it's right up there. But yeah, the top two search engines in the world are Google and YouTube.
When you think that people are going to voice and mobile search, YouTube is going to become a bigger destination than it is right now.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that YouTube's really good at answers, but its search functionality is actually very poor.
Yeah.
And I'm always surprised that they haven't utilized Google's ability to handle search much more into YouTube, you know, to combine the two things. Because, yeah, there's one killer app there, but maybe that's it. Maybe Google like the idea of owning both of the top platforms and actually keeping them both competitive so that advertisers have to spend twice as much.
Here's what is maybe a little bit different in YouTube search than most other searches. To me, people browse more than actually search. So you start with one video, and the way they fill the screen with associated videos, you don't need to do another search. You can keep going for hours.
I do that a lot. Yeah.
Me too. And you know, it's quite ingenious how they do that kind of search and those relationships.
But actually, if you think about it, it's only what Amazon invented. People who read this book tend to also love this book and this book. It's simply based on, you know, who really liked this video. What else did they really like? What did they tend to visit next or before? And that's how they build it up.
If you listen to the radio, a DJ picks your music for you. If you watch YouTube, you get to select what the next song is.
Yeah.
And
But they get to
listen to a bunch of songs from the 70s or 80s or jazz.
But in this case, the DJ decides to show you a list of your choices.
Mhm.
YouTube.
That is so true.
You know, as you were talking about this, the other thing that I think is a factor in the few that have really survived and prevailed, it's they reach a certain point where it's just the best place to go for what you want. So an example of that you haven't mentioned is eBay. If you're a collector, or if you want to buy weird used stuff or whatever, you go where you're most likely to find it, and that's eBay. Well, if you want to, you know, gather with others of your kind, like if you're a member of the East Anglican Drywall Collectors Club or something, you're most likely to find it on Facebook more than anywhere else.
A lot of people use eBay for buying stuff too.
For what?
I work for a music company, and we did a lot of business on eBay.
Yeah. So the point is, people will go somewhere like eBay or Facebook or one of these other places because that's where they're most likely to find what they're looking for, because there's so many people there.
Yeah.
For us, we used eBay, and I think a lot of stores do, for closeouts. So we would have stock that's at the end. It's hard to get rid of. That's what they sold on eBay. And because they could also, they bought it dirt cheap. They can actually compete with the used stuff.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people sell collectibles there too. I have a relative that makes a living buying collectibles at flea markets and then selling them there at a big profit.
My brother sells car parts on eBay. He goes to swap meets sometimes so he can do it face to face, but he ends up with better results from eBay.
So the point I was making is just that besides all these other factors in success, one other one that we have to remember is eventually if one of these emerges as the place with the majority of the users that someone else will want to talk to or shop with or whatever, that's going to happen.
Well, I think that's a good point, Tim. And for instance, I think an awful lot of people, if they're looking for something used that they can find locally, they can get in their pickup and go get, or at least go see it. Craigslist is going to be the most likely source for them. Okay, because they've got a nice ability to dial in your search in terms of price, locality, availability, whatever. So and that's something that eBay doesn't really offer, is any kind of a dial in.
Well,
you can look for the product, and that's about it.
So there's a couple of smartphone apps though that are beginning to compete with them on the local resale market. One called Let Go. Like I sold my wife's fitness, wristband thing a while back on Let Go because we could take a picture of it and put it up, and people could see it just as easily as Craigslist, if not even easier.
they were advertising on TV.
Yeah.
I must admit, eBay do have that feature to take on Craigslist. They allow you to look only within a set radius of yourself.
Yeah.
So they can do the dial-in. They just don't make a big deal of it because it's not where their main market is. And they don't want to confuse the big sales to win the small sales.
Yep.
I have noticed that they allow you to exclude offshore suppliers, but I had not seen any ability to limit your radius. No. That's good to know.
If you are a collectibles, well, if you're a collector, then eBay is about the main place to go. I collect antique pottery, and even though there are some very prestigious auction houses and things that are antique dealers that sell that stuff, you want the best price and the biggest selection, you're going to go to eBay.
I use an app called Offer Up.
Yeah.
It's called TV stand. I put it up on Offer Up one afternoon, the TV stand, and sold the TV stand for $40. It was gone within 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Wow.
The really interesting thing, of course, about eBay is it was never meant to be the business model. eBay was a pet project that the developer built for his girlfriend to show off what he could do to get more work doing developing.
At least that's the urban legend. I don't know if that's really true.
It is, and there used to be a website where you could buy your own eBay, which was directly from that company.
They were just doing Pez at that point. I remember that. That was actually one of the first shopping affiliates out there, was that.
Yeah.
Good. That's a good point.
It isn't an urban legend. We were both there. Admittedly, we're old enough to almost be urban legends.
Because that is a great point.
So, Dawn, we were talking about you.
Yes, we were.
Yes,
Welcome to the show. We were talking about your slides, your presentation.
All right. Oh God. Right. Okay. I'm not showing you my face today because I've got no makeup on. I'm working, but I'm just not feeling my best. So I think I've got a bit of a virus thing going on. I'll be all right. Just not feeling 100%. So.
It should be like we don't worry what we look like.
For the rest of us,
we've got Terry for the eye candy.
I've also got my dressing gown on, so yeah.
Well, that's better than not having your dressing gown on.
Yeah.
Accidents happen, things happen.
Yeah, good point. Let me close a few. I'll close a few of my tabs because I've got a gazillion tabs open on the computer, and I think it's slowing everything down. So, what were you saying? Wait, what were you slagging me off?
Yeah, we were just talking about how that was
getting pretty.
That was an embarrassingly poorly put together presentation, I think is what somebody was saying.
She always has too few slides, you know.
Oh God, yeah, I know. I always have
too many unique ideas. Just everybody.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything like that put together in that way, in terms of bunching unified thought in a succinct way, so people can digest it.
I hope that's good. Yeah, I hope it's
I think you actually polished that through doing your dissertations, didn't you, Dawn? Because, you know, the way you put together your research for your degree study.
Yeah. Well, there's definitely, you have to try and think of a flow that makes sense. And also I do some, I'm not lecturing next year actually, but I lecture at the university. I've decided to not lecturing on the head because the money is just so appalling, and it's the opportunity cost because you know, I've spent like about 100 hours marking students' papers, so I could probably have earned quite a bit more doing SEO. So
yeah, but it's one of those things, you don't do it for the money, isn't it? I mean,
no, you don't. No, you don't. But then
raise,
when you've got
your rates on your pay-in time,
yeah,
and then you've got the leeway to do more of what you want to do as well.
Well, I've spoken to the university and I said, look, I'll still do some guest lecturing, and they understand. They want me to do that, and I'm still going to supervise master's students. I'm supervising 2 who are doing their dissertation this year, and I'll probably supervise about 5 next year. You know, just
wow.
I've been there and it's good. It's like one-to-one, just Skype and like talking them through and encouraging them and stuff. And you know, so and actually I started doing some training for General Assembly. You know, just SEO boot camp stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really strict on how they have this process for. You have to feed a bit of information, then you build on that. It's like upload a bit more, you know, so it's like very much build on the story so that people find it easy to kind of remember stuff, you know. So, yeah, I tried to put that into slides now, really, with a bit of order. Because it's hard otherwise, isn't it, to try and work out what people are saying with them. So, yeah.
Some slideshows are very...
There you go.
Yeah. So,
some slideshows are very... there's some where you look at the slides without the talk, and there's nothing there. You know, they're not.
That's often the case. Yeah.
Just a picture of a cat. Cat memes everywhere. Yeah. I'm going to be writing a lot more. Actually, that's what I've decided not to go to as many conferences at all. I'm not going to be talking very much, and I'm not going to be traveling internationally for quite a long time.
I don't blame you.
I find it very tiring, to be honest. And I work for clients still, so you know, I know that there are some people that, and no detriment to them, but there are some people obviously that just their job is to just go and talk about things, and they're leading teams. But I do the work, and it's hard when you're on the go trying to do the work and talk and do stuff, and you don't have a really a life. So I've just decided to write more, you know, and talk a bit less. So I might do a blog post about the slides actually, to sort of explain it all a bit more.
Do a YouTube. Put up a YouTube video of you going through it, make your presentation there, and people can help themselves at any time.
Yeah.
And use it. And you know what? I think that really works.
Yeah. I'll try and do some stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. I found a lot of things around this notion of task, you know, everything like defined by task rather than the people. Last year as well, when I was at the Information Retrieval Summer School, I know I got on about that, but I learned so much you won't believe. Ricardo Years said to the class, forget the person. Just forget the person, because It's too risky now. You know, with all this privacy and it's too risky.
How we do all we do.
What's that?
It's like everybody thinks they know what they. It's like to piggyback on what you said about it's tiring, but it's tiring to go speak at conferences.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty tiring. Yeah. I'm not a good traveler, to be honest. I don't sleep well, and I don't sleep on planes, and I always feel ill afterwards.
And you know too many disreputable types who drag you into drinking at all hours and
yeah,
where would you find such people?
Yeah, no, God, yeah, I end up falling into the wrong company, and
then you get home and you realize you left all your undies in the drawer in the room, and
yeah, that.
Three SEOs walked into a bar.
That was pretty embarrassing. Yeah, having to ring up and explain what I'd left there and there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, how embarrassing. So anyway, could have been worse. Yeah, but it was good. So I just decided that the only time I'm not going to speak now anywhere till October, and that's what's that? I can't even remember where it is actually. Oh, it's in London somewhere at some thing. So, yeah. Apart from next week when I'm in Liverpool, but that's near. I mean, that's just up the motorway. So, but I've got so many half-written drafts in things as well, and I just think sometimes it's easier to get stuff across in words than it is to explain them when you're up against the clock, because you don't always get enough time to explain what you're trying to, and people are at different levels in a room as well. So some people might never have even heard of things like, navigational, transactional, and informational. And then others are like, oh, this is just basic, but it's hard because, you can't gauge it. So it's better if you write it and then it's there for good, isn't it? And I think
everyone's different on these kind of things. Hang on, we're getting some echo.
Yeah.
It's echoing.
But there's some. I'll tell you what, though, it's a mine. I'll tell you what, there's some very, very interesting stuff out there now. I know Bill's been sharing a bit of it. Found a lot of stuff around from Microsoft as well, talking about task predicted query stuff. Yeah, so it's like actually it's understanding more the way what comes next in the actual task completion. And I was thinking about this. I thought, where are they going to get all those task process flows? Part of it is obviously queries and just general common sense. But then I'm doing a talk in Liverpool on voice search. I started digging into all the stuff around actions. Yeah. And when you look at dialogue flow, how that builds, the developers that actually extend dialogue flow for actions on Google, they actually map out the next stages of all the tasks for the machine learning. Literally there, because you literally build this. You build out this process, a conversational chatbot or whatever. But it's kind of that. Obviously, at some point is going to feed in somehow, because literally you have humans there just looking at their processes, looking at the questions people ask next within systems like hotel booking, and literally just queuing up all the next task that somebody would do. Because about the 900 steps to buy a car, that's pretty well known. Google did some research, I think it was with Forrester, and they identified 900 subtasks that are involved before somebody actually buys a car. It's only recent, last year.
Wow.
So it seems that there's quite a lot of stuff around that, and there was a patent that they just produced called predicting the next task or something. So it just kind of makes sense that, I don't know. I mean, I suppose tasks can't sue you for privacy, can they?
No, and they vary more.
Yeah,
the UK task are longer because of a cup of tea every third part.
I think the tasks are more predictable than people.
So 900 is a website.
I'll find it for you. It's pretty interesting actually. Hold on, got so much stuff open here.
Yeah, I've been trying to make it an AI assistant through building the nodes. They don't even have it for a website yet, which is kind of weird, but they just can do Messenger. But yeah, that's basically, you can break down all the tasks. But you have to kind of put everything in by hand. It's not very intuitive.
Wow. We got a lot of people. What happened?
Definitely the task-based process. Dawn, you're
That's funny.
The task-based process is the most convenient way for them to break it down now that, you know, privacy is such a big concern. But I also do think it gives them a lot more research to work with again and allows even closer targeting, because I'll bet you that different personality types go about the task in different ways and allows you to target in different senses to different people.
Exactly, and I think that's it. It's just knowing if somebody does this step, then take them in that direction. It's only like building it's like building out a CRM, but but you're taking the privacy element out of it, because it's not that. Danny Sullivan said on Twitter the other week, when somebody said something about personalization, he went, "Oh, actually, personalization is very light now. It really only matters about the location and whether you're on mobile or whatever." Yeah, because if you read a lot of this stuff around mobile information retrieval, there's only a recent book last year. Actually, it's really brand new. There's like there's not. It's quite an emerging area still. And there's a guy called Stefano Mazzaro, which seems to be like one of the biggest noises in that space. He built this framework of relevance a few years back. Time, blah, 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 etc. There's a guy called, sorry, the dogs are going mad. There's a guy called Kapala who recently extended that time element to say, I'm on the phone. Tell you what, you can't have a conversation here. Sorry. Right, I'm going to have to speak again in a minute because this is mad in here. Yeah.
Wait, I'll go get my cat.
Google's engineers have bribed the dogs there to keep all their secrets. They're not wanting this discussed.
They've gone now. They've gone now anyway. But I'll just finish up and say this. This guy called Kapala, he's extended this notion of time to include space and time, because the user is on the move. And actually, if you're going at 70 miles an hour and you're a passenger in a car and you look at restaurants near me, or restaurants, yeah, you're going at 70 miles an hour. So the restaurant that you were looking at in the location where you looked is kind of no longer relevant. So actually, the accelerometer in the phone potentially predicts where you'll be when in X period of time. So things like Arno Hellemans brought my attention to a schema from a while ago called Area Served. And potentially something like that is pretty useful, because if you can say in your pages, your service pages, rather than just trying to rank on, location service, which obviously is increasingly difficult because of Google My Business and stuff, you could potentially reach further by saying, well, this is the map, this is where we are, but actually area served is like 50-mile radius or whatever. So some interesting things, I think, coming out of it. Yeah.
Don't mention that they're going to use on
the accelerometer.
No, just using the whole context of where a device is in the search process. That was quite interesting. The accelerator, everything, when it's resting, when it's being powered up, all those things.
Well, it's all the field of contextual search, isn't it?
Yeah. That's where it does get dangerous. Did you see the talk about geofencing?
Which one?
Can you mute for a second? The echo is going crazy. Geofencing, where they were talking about people in hospital and how you might get injury lawyers suddenly, pinging you and seeing ads for it non-stop because it's detected you're in the accident and emergency ward. And therefore, these lawyers would love to reach you, or, medical insurers or all kinds of companies like that. And they're picking on you at a time when you're particularly weak. And this really shouldn't necessarily be allowed. So they were wondering whether to block certain locations from being reported or not. Should you be targeting this? Should you not? Personally, I would always opt not to. I don't think it's right. But it's certainly going to be an issue we consider more and more, as locational context can give you a lot of information about people. Oh, well, we're not collecting personal data. This applies to anyone who happens to go to an abortion clinic and is married, and apparently their husband doesn't know they've just had an abortion. It gets very dangerous very, very fast.
We actually have home health clients that have been approached with exactly that kind of geographical targeting for ads, pitching the idea that they could target people that were in nursing homes ready to be discharged to home, or in hospitals. So yeah, that's real, that people are out there pitching that.
Yeah.
That's what all response marketing is about.
Yeah, but it does get very, very dangerous very, very quickly when you are able to specifically target people who may be weak.
Very easy to abuse.
Well, maybe they'll at least eventually have some ethical standards around this. I mean, like the payday loan thing, and what are the other ones that they've stopped ads for? There's quite a few, isn't there, that are just not ethical, and maybe they'll, as you say, ring fence certain areas where you can't use location to target, so like hospitals.
Google does that.
Well, they don't allow paid ads, do they, for like payday loans anymore? But just as an example of some kind of ethics.
I suspect that targeting for attorneys is against the Board of Professional Responsibility.
I don't know. Bill, they used to not be allowed to advertise at all.
Right.
Yeah, at the moment, I know quite a lot of legal firms that are using geofencing, so it's not actually forbidden. Obviously, the technology is too new, and until there's an exact wording for it, there's always leeway for somebody to try it on.
I think lots of law firms are taking after Google in that they figure it's better to ask for forgiveness after the fact than permission first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look what happened with Facebook and that. Martin Lewis has just taken he's taken him to court and making an exemplary case of them using his face in targeting. Is it the Bitcoin people taking advantage of people and using his face in ads? Same with Richard Branson. So actually, Martin Lewis is doing that as an exemplary case. So
think of the streetcar teams at Google collecting people's passwords from their Wi-Fi. They get away with doing that. They said, "Oops, we did that. We're sorry."
They action needs to be taken. That's the thing. I mean, you can't just let people get away with it, apologise afterwards. That's just bull, isn't it?
Unfortunately, the law lags behind always, because it takes it takes a while for a case to get to court. It takes a while to prepare a case to even apply for an actual court date. And then you've got the time of going through it, and then you've got the lengthy discussion, and then you've got the fact it can be appealed, and it can have to go through 3-4 rounds of court hearings before it's finally settled. So, I mean, you know, these things do lag behind a long way. And I think at some point we are going to have to look at technology, at the way society has been changing over the past 3 decades, and say that system's not enough anymore. We need to have a forward-looking body. We need to have a body that's thinking ahead and laying down some broad guidelines for things that we won't say these are illegal, but we will say if you're doing anything in this area, and this area that deals with this, this, and this, then you need to have a discussion with us before you do it.
Well, then that body needs to be educated in the ways of the internet, because unfortunately, did you see? Well, we all saw the absolute shambles at the hearing of Mark Zuckerberg. Illustrated that the people in power actually know jack about the internet, unfortunately.
Well, the interwebs is the classic example. Yeah. That was a politician who didn't understand how any of that worked and blamed spam for clogging up the tubes so his emails couldn't get through. So legitimately, you know.
So Google employees loan ads, by the way. I just put the link in the thing. Being in that industry, seen it, there is no way they'll ever stop it.
I don't think they do it in the UK. They don't do it in the UK. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty confident that I remember. I may be wrong, but I think I remember seeing something in the UK that definitely don't protect them.
Well, they were probably litigated out. I mean, the EU and UK, constantly suing them for whatever. It's just indirect taxation.
So Google employees talked their bosses away from helping the U.S. military use artificial intelligence with drones. So artificial intelligence is one of those areas where there's a lot of potential for harm.
I'm always amazed that there's no policy I mean, there's no real discussion going on about any of the implications of any of it, and nobody's serious. I mean, there's some serious people like that are talking about it, but it never gets out into any kind of public arena. I mean, your average person, after the fact, if something very bad happens, then maybe they'll try something.
And see people like Elon Musk issue warnings about artificial intelligence, and then start selling flamethrowers on the web.
Yeah,
there's just so much incredible noise out there too. How can anybody discern almost anything? It's tough.
Yeah, but they call almost everything AI now too. Like a lot of times it's just being able to crunch a whole lot of data. Oh, they're doing huge machine learning. All that nonsense. It's not going to hurt anybody unless you don't want to be able to get decent advertising in front of you or something like that.
Well, but the vast majority of things that are being referred to as AI are nowhere approaching even the verge of AI.
I was amazed with the Watson tool and that virtual assistant. You really have to put in almost every parameter of answer possible. There's nothing intuitive of its ability to understand a question. You have to put the entity.
Exactly. I was reading that I was looking at that the other day, and I thought, this is not AI. This is like eventually machine learning, and that's the difference. And everything's supervised. All the answers are fed in, and basically it just picks the most appropriate one. Has anybody got the new Google Gmail? Has anybody got the new Gmail coming through?
Nobody wants it.
Where it actually gives prediction
in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've got the new Gmail, And obviously LinkedIn do the same, whereby, you know, it predicts the answer that you're going to give based on the content. I think that's effectively what actions on Google is. It's not AI, it's just predictive text with a few options. And
I have that on Gmail.
Exactly. And the answers are pretty good, actually. In fact, I've been attempted a few times to just press a button and just, it's like, oh, well, it seems to work. So it's almost like that's the way it's going. You know, it's like, these are a possible few options. Yeah, so that's not artificial intelligence. It's just
I remember when the inventor of predictive text died, and I got an automated message inviting me to his funfair.
You know, there's an awful lot of people too that think that AI and machine learning are synonymous from it. But I mean, a lot of people think it's the same thing.
They seem to be thinking that everything that uses statistics can be called machine learning as well. And, you know, that's not true. If the machine isn't learning, it's not machine learning. If the machine isn't able to write its own algorithms from the data it's discovering, it is not machine learning, it's analytics. Big claims today I saw from, let me see, SEMrush, of course. That, you know, machine learning is now in their new thing of analyzing websites. No, it's not. That's analytics. It's not machine learning. It's not writing its own algorithms.
But it's a handy little buzzword for marketers.
It's crunching big numbers, and it's very good at it. But, you know, why? And that's kind of one of the problems I have with SEO tool companies. No need to say and put that out there. I mean, it's a good tool. Why make it out to be something it's not? Doesn't make sense to me. There's another
you get into new problems as well with machine learning, because as humans, we know that certain things are allowed and disallowed. We've got a good understanding of etiquette, mostly, until you go into certain groups and forums.
You and I are obviously not hanging out in the same places, Ammon. You don't go to Facebook much, eh?
You know, there are certain rules of political correctness and stuff, and machines do not care for any of that. You know, if they notice a correlation between spam and disabled veterans, they will penalize all disabled veterans. That's the way machines work. You know, there is no quarter, there is no conscience, and there is no care and concern. Those are beyond the machine.
Which is why Panda's so rough on everyone.
Yes.
If you do certain things, it's going to kick you right in the nads because it knows that's where it hurts.
Yeah. And it doesn't care whether you're a charity that has bad looking links or a spammer that has bad links. If they both flag up the same algorithm, it treats both exactly the same way.
Punish the many for the sins of the few.
And I think that's why it hits so many untouchables and why SEOs freak so much when it started hitting places like a lot of press releases, sites that were thought to be hands off got pounded to the ground to where they basically weren't even in the SERPs hardly at all.
Yeah.
What did they do then, Terry? That was like so panda vulnerable.
Crappy content.
Okay. The thing is, I mean, we always see it from the side of like the website, and I think that the main thing is, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a bit pious when I say, look, I think we should always try and look at it from the side of the user. You know, like searching for something. We know what crappy content is. The user comes across something, just, you know, they're much more naive than us, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, I think though. If you're an SEO and you're not and you're not paying attention to how they're using machine learning, because in a lot of ways it's also just analytics as well, like looking at what was on those websites that gave a poor experience. What do they have in common? And that's how it was done. And, you know, sometimes when they do it like that, things that people thought were A-okay because they were on every website, well, everyone's just penalized equally, because Panda doesn't penalize. Panda just cranks in the value of your site, the quality score on it. So each site now has a quality score, even if they're not in.
Yeah, and you know what? That definitely uses machine learning. I'd be amazed if it's not using machine learning, because do you remember that conference I went to in France that time in the mountains? Everybody in that field of information retrieval is using machine learning at scale now. Yeah. So if Google and the other search engines are not, then they are the outlier, and I can't see that being that's not going to be happening. So for scale, yes, for scale, for me, what happens is this: with every crawl, score gets updated. An individual like URL level, quality, because it's got the history data of that whole, every single URL that ever was, and it's kind of just a rolling quality thing that just happens with every crawl. For me,
probably the last thing we've got time for before we do the wrap up for the week. But Amazon, of course, is an excellent example of this. At one time, it was really bidding high to get the best buyers in the market to be able to, you know, negotiate the deals with the big brands and get the ordering right on huge amounts of stock. And that's all been turned over to machine learning now. And of course, the self-running marketplace where, you know, any business can list its own stuff. Amazon don't have to do that. It's got the machine learning to suggest how much stock it needs and to make a decision on a deal. The deals are done by machine learning. It knows what season it is. It can look at all kinds of stuff from the data it's got, and it's resulted in the retail division, as it was, pretty much becoming second fiddle now. There's quite a few news stories on that, definitely worth looking up. But it shows you how the biggest companies on the internet have shifted their budget completely, and how completely machine learning is taking over some of the most data-driven, intelligence-driven jobs now. These are not bottom-level jobs.
No, it's scalable. It's the scale that is. We can't keep using humans
Actually,
anymore.
The thing was, Dawn, it was outperforming them individually, not even at scale. On one deal, it would beat them every time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I was reading somewhere actually that even though we think that AI is going to get rid of jobs, according to Gartner, it's going to actually produce more jobs than it gets rid of, just because of the type of industry it is and the type of like companies that use it. It's going to keep there's going to be more jobs created as a result of using this. Yeah.
Yes. It's a bit like IT. If you remember, some of you, of course, aren't old enough to remember the 80s. Honest. No matter what it looks like. But in the 80s, we were always sold computers as labour-saving devices, and of course, by the 90s, 10% of the entire workforce of all first world nations were working in IT, rather than labour-saving.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And I mean, Gartner are pretty good at predicting stuff, to be fair. So, they're not the only ones to say actually it's going to produce more jobs than it gets rid of. So yeah, I was surprised when I read that actually, but that was only a few days ago. Yeah.
I wonder if the Gartner partners are all, getting ready with their resumes for the fact that their jobs are primed to be taken over by machine learning. Those kind of predictive behaviors are what machine
Yeah, I suppose so. But I mean, you'll always need the human. Well, I suppose you won't always need the human insight, but sometimes people want the human interaction and the human, the human communication. We don't always want to be told by a computer, do we? So
it's why I was so fascinated with Google's Assistant. When it was booking the restaurant and they programmed it. Had human idioms built into it, so it wouldn't necessarily word things perfectly.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? When you look actually at the things that are coming soon as intents on actions on Google, just go to that actions on Google page and look at their directory. Look at all the things that say coming soon, booking a hairdresser's appointment, recipes. Oh, just so many different things. Nutrition facts, blah, 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 blah. They are ramping it up. And Andre Broder, as we know, at the last Wisdom, he did a call to arms in assistive AI and started giving all of these things names now. Conducive, decisive, and subordinate systems, So for me, he's saying, look, we've got everything. We just need the labour now to roll this all out. And that's indicative. The fact that actions on Google has got so many things they're saying coming soon, which means that, I don't know, maybe look forward a year and hopefully, I think a lot of those things are going to be there. And actually, I think what's happening as well is the developers that they're calling in to use Dialogflow are contributing to that with the flows that they're producing.
I have been amazed that Amazon have been going quite slow with Alexa. I was expecting Alexa to be much more of a home help and a home assistant. So you could say, Alexa, I have rice, beans, and a tin of tuna in the cupboard. What recipes can I make? And it knows the kind of food you want, and it can, then suggest to you various things that are within your cooking ability that you could make with that and do with that. Because that then ties in with their Whole Foods purchase, where it can order ahead for you.
The past
I reckon that's coming. That's coming for sure.
The past 2 weeks, I've been reading a bunch of published papers on disambiguation, and these are recent. And they're talking about linking to entities on Wikipedia to define what things are. They still are a long way away from having easy understanding of language.
Definitely. Do you know what? Have you seen that? Have you seen those two schemas, similar to and related to schemas? Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. No, there's literally natural language processing is so difficult because of the whole the major thing is the anaphora and cataphora. Yeah. So the whole pronouns thing, when you look at all the different types of pronouns and the relationships between, when people start saying this, that, who, he, she, and all that, it's just really hard to resolve, apparently.
And to reiterate Doc's earlier point, you only have to go as far as Facebook to see it's not only machines that struggle with natural language. I think we are at time for this week. So let's quickly look ahead to what people are up to in the week ahead. Bill, kick us off. You can't unmute.
You're muted.
Okay. There we go. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to present on. I'm speaking in Italy in November, and it's on the future of search, which was so broad, it's really not helpful. So I've got to decide what the future of search for purposes of a trip to Italy is going to be.
It's your own fault that you got invited because you kept on talking about paper.
Bill, is that Andrea Pacini's conference? He's got 3, is it in Milan?
It's in Milan.
Yeah, is it Andrea's Piscini's? Yeah.
It's Angel.
Yeah, but yeah. No, I was going to speak at that one. I would have seen you there, but I cancelled it. So yeah, no. Sorry, I've interrupted. Anyway, I just wanted.
That's all right. David Emerland is also going to be there.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah. Well, with a bit of luck, you'll have Fab there as well. If he's visiting home again around that time. It'll be fun.
Fab's doing a bit of speaking as well. He's speaking at Turing Fest, you know.
Excellent. Dawn, what are you up to in the week ahead?
I'm finishing off. I'm doing a webinar tomorrow for Smart Insights with my friend Jill Quick, who's an absolutely brilliant analytics lecturer and trainer and stuff. So we're doing it on the love match between UX and SEO. So customer empathy mapping and information architecture and foraging and stuff like that. So next week I'm speaking on voice search, and then that's it. And then I'm off. Well, I'm not off. I'm working for the rest of the year, but I'm just giving it a rest on the old walking bit. So yeah.
I think that is going to be part of the new personalization, is offering consumers more choice in their user experience, and then using their choices instead of data about them specifically, because again, it's a workaround. People who chose to have slightly larger fonts and this color.
Yeah, it's recommend a system. Yeah.
Doc.
Well, like I said earlier, I'm kicking off a couple of new sites this week, and going to be buried on that for a bit. And my daughter is in the process of stuffing her luggage right now. She's taken off for about a week and a half, so it's going to be quiet and peaceful around here.
You say that now.
And I just got my dirty look of the day.
It took you this long in the day to get your first dirty look. What's going on, Doc? Are you slipping?
I must be getting old, Ammon.
Johnny, what are you up to in the week ahead?
Just got a couple clients that we're trying to push the projects along, and they've been busy or whatever, but it's kind of shepherding to get things done. That's probably what I'm doing for the next week. Hopefully, we'll have some good movement tomorrow.
Yeah. There was a discussion recently about clients and when do you apply business coaching and when do you not, when they don't really know what they're doing yet. Is it that you walk away because you don't want to be involved with that? Do you do some business coaching? Steve Geringer, who of course is on the show regularly, said that he likes the business coaching and he actually particularly likes those kind of clients. And I pointed out, that there's the business coaching and there's the ones who are nightmare clients because they don't listen and think they know it all. And there you can only do stage coaching, making sure they're on the next stage coach out of town. Terry, what are you up to in the week ahead?
Doing much more programming, probably. Looking at some, trying to get some work squared away.
Is a database involved?
Pardon me?
Is a database involved at all?
Not too much on these, no.
You say add in a database, just use MySQL somewhere, and you can stop calling it programming and start insisting it's machine learning like everyone else is doing.
Yes, I could. Yeah. Oh, by the way, on machine learning and Panda, on Stone Temple, there's an interview with a Googler who actually worked on the Panda project, the machine learning, and he had some really good insights, especially how the whole industry kind of missed the ads above the fold. It's actually content in general, has nothing to do with ads. That's a good one.
Not surprised about that one, that we missed it.
Oh, I did. I read the original and started putting it in use right away.
Yep.
Tim, how about you? What's your week looking like?
Normal. Just trying to help clients make more money.
Always a good move.
Nothing new or special.
The special comes from the clients who resist. Yeah.
Special comes from clients making more money and being happy. That's all I know. That's my job.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for joining us this week. No doubt we will be back next week. I am hoping that we're going to get a friend of mine, Sadie Sharon, on sometime, because I'd really like to talk a lot more about YouTube.
Yeah. So, Sadie's brilliant. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So.
I think YouTube is still a major trick that a lot of companies are missing. And you don't have to use YouTube as an advertising platform. For people who want something to think about, take a look at some of the people out there and some of the interesting things they're doing. There's a guy called Alex Steele, young chap, blacksmith. He's now in the States, I believe, but he started off with a UK shop. And as he was learning the trade of blacksmithing, he did videos to show what he was about and push his knowledge. And yeah, he made mistakes in front of people, but he is taking on huge commissions now. He's got a very good little business going. And part of it is because people learned what he's about, learned to respect his work ethic, learned to respect the time that he's putting in. And of course, the artist element of it pays in as well. And there's lots of small businesses that could be doing something not quite like that, but lots of things with YouTube, understanding that YouTube is the biggest search engine to the under 25s, ahead of Google.
Future of search, really. There you go, Phil. There's your topic.
It's now, if you do branded searches and a company has done a lot of YouTube videos, my clients doing this, you'll see YouTube carousel on page one if you put in the name of the company, which is really nice.
And I see companies that try and do the conversation I was having with Sadie, which is what brought this up, was there was a company that got its channel taken down, and they think it was just pushing a little bit too aggressively with trying to get people from YouTube to its site. And we were having this conversation. I said, yeah, because that's actually the wrong way to go. You don't want people to look at one video and come to your site, because the conversion rate's terrible when it's done that way. But if they've engaged with 2 or 3 of your videos and come to your site, conversion rates are more than double. So actually building your channel, building your brand on YouTube, and then converting that traffic is really, really powerful stuff. And any company can find a way to use this.
Yeah, we were talking last Friday about boring industries. For me, that's perfect for video, because there you just think outside of the box and do something entertaining with that boring subject, and you probably got viral videos that a lot of your competitors can't repeat that, or it's very hard for them to copy you and not get, they would have on that troll, there's a lot of trolls on YouTube too that would pick that up and call them out on it. When I was doing YouTube video heavy, that's how I built the channel for the users, was taking the feedback and incorporating it into the channel. Now the guy gets all his traffic from YouTube. Doesn't have to rank on Google.
And just remember that, exactly as we've said with guest blogging and article writing, it doesn't have to be about your business to benefit your business. You don't have to create a YouTube channel about your business. You have to create a YouTube channel that people who will use your business would enjoy. It's about the correlation. People who like this channel will be great customers, rather than I want to target customers.
It's about
Get ahead of it.
audiences. It's audiences and entertainment, because it actually changes. You have to be somewhat entertaining as well to really make it on YouTube. Anyway,
I had better. Oh, Bill's got out of his chair. I better pull the button. Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.